verb. Effective English language communication usually requires knowledge that each sentence contains a subject and a verb. The subject is sometimes defined as a person, a place, or a thing. The verb conveys an understanding of the action expressed, or it conveys the state of the subject. Example, Chris bought the book. The verb is bought. Chris acted. He bought something. The verb describes the action. Effective communication also requires identification of the thing Chris bought. The object that Chris bought was a book. The object of the verb bought is the book. Example, the car is black. The verb is conveys the state of the subject. The verb does not convey a sense of action. The car has a black state. Black is the color that describes the car. The word black is an adjective in the sentence, the car is black. Compound verbs. You construct a compound verb out of an auxiliary verb and another verb. In particular, you may use an auxiliary verb, also known as helping verb, with the verb in order to create the many of the tenses available in English. Example, the pen Tony was looking for is under the table. Here, the compound verb is made up of the auxiliary verb was and the present participle looking. Example, that dog has been barking for 3 hours. I wonder if someone will call the owner. In this sentence, the first compound verb is made up of the two auxiliary verbs has and been and a present participle barking. The second compound verb is made up of the auxiliary verb will and the verb call. Auxiliary verbs. The most common auxiliary verbs are be, do, and have, and you may also use these verbs on their own. You use will and shall to express future time. For example, do you always take the bus to work? Have you washed your face? Other common auxiliaries are can, could, may, might, must, ought, should, will, and would. A verb like these is called a modal auxiliary and expresses necessity, obligation, or possibility. Example, can I go to school late on Tuesday? I could not go to the movies last night. I had to study. Transitive and intransitive verbs. One set of terms used to describe verbs is transitive and intransitive. Transitive verbs convey a sense of action, and the sense identifies whom or what the subject addresses. Example, Tom kicked the ball. The verb is kicked. The verb conveys a sense of action, and the sentence reveals what Tom kicked. An action verb can be transitive or it can be intransitive. Examples, I moved the ball. Transitive, I moved the ball smartly. Intransitive. Linking verbs. A linking verb connects a subject to a subject complement, which identifies or describes the subject. Examples, 1. The concert is waiting for the guitarist. In this sentence, the linking verb is links the noun phrase, the concert, to the identifying phrase, waiting for the guitarist, which is called a subject complement. 2. Some of us thought that the movie was very good. In this sentence, the verb was links the subject complement, very good, to subject, the movie. Forming and using verb tenses. English speakers form many verb tenses by combining one of the principal parts of the verb with one or more auxiliary verbs. In order to form verb tenses, you need a good grasp of the auxiliaries and the principal parts of the verb. There are 4 principal parts: the basic form, the present participle, the past form, and the past participle. The basic form. Examples: walk, paint, think, grow, sing. The infinitive form of the verb is a compound verb made up of the preposition to and the basic form of the verb. Examples: to walk, to paint, to think, to grow, to sing. To form the present participle, add ing to the basic form of the verb. Examples: walking, painting, thinking, growing, singing. The past form of verbs is a little trickier. If the verb is regular or weak, you can create the past form by adding ed, d or t to the present form. When a basic form ends in y, you change the y to I. Examples: walked, painted, thought, grew, sang. The past participle of regular verbs is usually identical to the past form, while the past participle of irregular verbs is often different. Examples: walked, painted, thought, grown, sung. Irregular verbs form the past participle and the past form without ed or t, and frequently their past form and past participle are different. For example, the past form of the verb break is broke and the past participle is broken. Modal verbs. All auxiliary verbs except be, do and have are called modals. Unlike the other auxiliary verbs, modals only exist in their helping form. They cannot act alone as the principal verb in a sentence. The modal verbs are can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, ought to, will, would. Examples: can. He can speak French. Can you help me? Could. Could I borrow your DVD? Could you say it again more slowly? May I have another cup of tea? You may leave the table once you have finished your meal. Might. They might not come to the party. Must. You must look good for your interview. We must say goodbye now. Ought to. We ought to employ an accountant. Shall. Shall I help you with your luggage? Shall I do that for you? Should. I think we should check everything again. Sensex should soar next month. Will. I'll get back to you first thing on Monday. Profits will increase next year. Would. Would you prefer tea or coffee? Would you like to play cricket this Sunday?